Boys, it took me nearly a decade to get the kind of shoulders that give you that superhero physique, and it's by focusing on one portion of the shoulder. We're gonna maximize your results in as little time as possible. Steroid allegations without the steroids. Let's get in today's video. All right, first order of business, we're gonna get right into it. Listen, first thing, yes, you're supposed to tuck in like a gentleman. If you're new here, we tuck in our shirts because we're here to bring back class. However, we're not gimmicky. Honestly, this tuck-in doesn't work. I'm gonna do it for my dogs, I'm for Crusadia, but to be clear, I'm just doing this for the new guys so they understand you tuck in. However, this is not something to tuck in. You can't force the tuck-in, even though I'm forcing it right now. Yeah, see, we don't force it. But it's something that we do. Depends on what you're wearing. Anyways, that's not what you're not here for a freaking lesson on tucking in your damn shirt. Anyways, we want to do this by focusing on one portion of the shoulder, as I said, which is the side delt. But we can do so in a way that doesn't necessarily take up our entire lives. Trust me, I know what it's like to want to have those type of gains and feel like my genetics, oh, this sucks. Shoulders were legitimately second to the chest, I have to say. Chest is by far the worst thing genetically on my body, but shoulders were as well. It's just by simply packaging up our workouts correctly. So on the first portion, we're gonna pick something that is going to bias the side delt using a compound movement that we wanna progress in, and it's an exercise that is demonized way too much. And that exercise is the behind the neck press. Now, I personally can go very, very deep at this point and shoot up. Boom, hold on. Let me adjust the microphone. You see that balance? Perfect. All right, so like I said, I can sink extremely deep and then come out. However, if you have never done this before, just like strength training, you have to progress into the movement itself. The mobility aspect is something you have to progress in. So if you're only comfortable stopping up here and then shooting up, that's your starting point. You need to focus on making sure your elbows stay tucked in, and then you shoot up, boom. And then as you get more comfortable, you can start getting a little bit deeper. Okay, cool. Pause, by the way. And then you can sink mid part of the back. Yes. And then come up. But you need to have the ability. And by the way, most important thing is you want to take it to complete failure. With something like that, you can stop shy. That's completely fine, mainly because it's a movement that is a bit uncomfortable for most people, but doesn't matter. The framework stays the exact same. You can do it on a Smith machine if that's easier for you and you feel more comfortable. Point is, we want to pick a compound movement, biasing that side delt, that we can progress in, that we can get stronger at. And on the back end, I'm going to show you an isolation exercise to take this muscle to complete failure. So without further ado, let's get to it. Crusadia will be the very first digital country. You heard me. Digital nation, digital country. When I say it, there will be citizens, there will be mayors eventually, and then there will be residents. However, for the very first few, because I am only going to open it for 1 week, you will have instant citizenship. You will create the country with me, because the biggest problem in the world today is two things. People want to massively improve their lives. But take it a step further. They are forced to do so in a way that is completely isolated. The reason why they're isolated is for one reason. And what's that reason? You have bad company around you. You're kind of forced to isolate. And that also means, you get to do things your way. And that means having heart in a beautiful spot. But the problem is you want to massively improve your life, but you're forced to do it by yourself. That's why things like monk mode have been glamorized. And it's because no one's been able to solve this problem. This is exactly what I aim to do. If that sounds like you're the outlier in your life, you're the outsider, you're someone that hasn't been able to do the things that they want to do with the people they love because they don't get it, this is what I'm creating it for. I've had to do this thing all by myself, and let me tell you something, extremely overrated. But I had to do what I had to do. And all I'm doing is leveraging what I've created over the last 2 years to where it's a home for all of us. The internet's an incredible place because it's global. You're no longer confined to your local environment. And that way, you actually get to go off into, and this is cheesy, quote-unquote war with your boys. Not, hey, for the weekends, I live for the weekends, then during the week, I hate my life. That's not how we do things here. We are here to take over. I promise you we're going to reign king. Waitlist down below. And guess what? You might just one day be able to have some heart hanging out with all the rest of the Crusaders. That's exactly what I plan on to do, and I'm looking forward to seeing you inside. All right, now we're gonna go with an absolute classic, which is the side cable lateral raise. Now, I like going across arm You can go between the legs if you want a little bit more ISO, and that way there's less cheating that can be involved, but I enjoy across body cables. I mix it up every other time typically, but it doesn't matter. So all you're gonna do, this is why I like doing isolation exercises, because on the front end, we pick something that we're actually getting stronger at, something that we want to progress in. On the back end, you want to pick an isolation exercise, and this is where I find I get the most bang for my buck with isolation, because I can lock into the muscle with my mind. And that way it's focused, it's controlled. And this is where you take it to complete failure. And that means partials. All right, then you go to the other arm and you do the same exact thing. Now with these, a lot of people struggle, and that's why I'm telling you, in my opinion, if you struggle finding the contraction on these, I would go split leg. And well, actually I go split leg with my leading leg. So if I'm holding with my right hand, I like coming out with my right foot. And it allows me to cheat a lot less. Both work absolutely great. Stretch. I honestly will feel the stretch along my traps, through my shoulder, and then pop up. Quality over quantity. This is the beauty of an isolation exercise. Don't be stupid and use your ego. That's what the compound's for, if you want to. If you want to. Actually, you want to know something? We're going to wrap this up. And there you have it, boys. Another video down the hatch, but this is the point of it, is that way we are getting stronger. We're isolating out the muscle. And I personally think of it, because it's not like my genetics were absolutely incredible. I'm happy with my genetics, don't get me wrong. But if you saw me prior, you definitely wouldn't be like, oh, dude, that guy's genetics is why he is where he's at. No, absolutely not. I've been every single body part under the spectrum. Not kidding. Skinny, chubby, weightlifter build, straight up fat, almost on the cusp of being in shape type of build, everything. And I stayed there for a while, and every single one. It's just like, couldn't quite figure it out. And it's not that this framework is absolute magic. It's not that. But think about what we're doing. I'm not giving my body any choice but to grow. It's an absolute blitzkrieg. And blitzkrieg doesn't mean you go for 3 hours, because you can't. It's a blitzkrieg. You have to just go all out. And that's why I like this, because when I said maximizing results in as little time as possible, that's what we're doing. This is the beauty of the framework, is you kind of have to go in. It sucks when you have to go in. You're like, this sucks. But that for me is worth the sacrifice. You're telling me I can get ridiculously better gains. Yeah, I'm going to be more uncomfortable, but I get to be there for less time. Amazing. I don't want the gym to be my entire personality. Funny as it sounds, now I'm doing YouTube videos on fitness, but that's the irony of life. You gotta just kind of roll with it. Anyways, I appreciate watching this video. I hope this is well worth your time. If there's anything you guys want specifically, please drop it down in the comments. And if people like those comments, give those a thumbs up, and then I will make a video on it. As always, y'all, I love you very much. From Uncle Rami to the Natural Crusaders. Crusadia coming to June 22nd. I cannot wait. I actually already talked about it in a previous video. It'll be the very first digital nation. This is going to be a place where essentially people like myself, which are the lone wolf types, the ones that kind of, you know, have to isolate a lot more often, and people that just don't want to necessarily have to do that and get to have people around that see the world from a similar lens. It will be a legitimate country, it'll be run like one, and everyone will have responsibilities to making that place better. It's not about thinking, oh, how can I extract all the value I can? No. I'm building out this place, and it's going to depend on you guys as well. You have to tell me, this needs to be better, this needs to be worse. Uncle Rami, we need to add this inside. It's everybody's responsibility to make it what it is, because I have a firm belief and I have a theory, and this is me testing it out, that if you get a bunch of lone wolves that see eye to eye on stuff, that have trust, that have a vested interest in one another winning and succeeding, they can take over the world. And I'm betting everything on it. Everything. And I can't wait till I'm proven right, because I know for me, when I have a goal, I knock it out. I wanted steroid allegations without the roids, I knocked it out. I wanted to improve my life financially, relationship-wise, even myself, my character, my moral ground. I've done that. I'm not done yet. But the point is I'm progressing. Once you're on the road, you just let your unconscious take over. And that's what I aim to do, is really facilitate a real way of you guys actually being given the same opportunity that I had to learn kind of by myself. Instead of going through life isolated and then trying to inject yourself into social circles and be like, yeah, I got friends, I have a good social life. That's not how it's meant to be. It's about having a mission that's worth dying for. That's what dudes are all about. That's why the idea of like war in our heads, like, yeah, it's dope. Dude, can you imagine going out in the battlefield? Be absolutely sick. That's how we are. But the problem is we tell ourselves, well, I'm not happy. It's just because we haven't found something worth fighting for. That was me my entire life. And I cannot wait to have those that are actually meant to be in there, because it's not going to be a, oh yeah, everyone's welcome. You'll know right away if it's meant for you or not. And my goal is to be honest with you, I don't want a plethora of people, unless those plethora of people are a quality. They have a standard of excellence. Just like how I work out, it's no different. I have a standard and I abide by it, and everyone else is going to do the exact same for their standard. And they're going to elevate my standard in some regards, and I want to elevate theirs in their regards. Anyways, I love you guys. Uncle Rami out. Peace.